Hey guys, tonight we slip into the golden dust of a time long past, where fires whispered secrets, and the wind might carry the voice of a god. You might imagine India today with its vibrant markets and honking tuk-tuks, but rewind several thousand years, and you're in a different rhythm altogether. Cows wander slowly across the fields. The rivers, especially the great Saraswati and Ganges, aren't just water, they're mothers. And in small clearings beneath a sky bright with stars, humans sit cross-legged beside fire altars, murmuring chants that no one writes down, because memory is sacred. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The Vedic period in ancient India, around 1500 BCE, wasn't all solemn sages and incense smoke. Though there was a good deal of that, it was also loud with ritual drums, laughter, and yes, a lot of butter. Ghee was poured into fire as offerings to gods like Agni, the deity of fire, and Indra, a thunderbolt-hurling warrior who rode storms like a chariot. Fire was not just warmth, it was a telephone line to the divine. Imagine trying to speak to the heavens using only smoke, rhythm, and verse. No email, no emoji, just faith and flame. And these verses? They're the Vedas, some of the oldest surviving religious texts on earth. Sung rather than spoken, they traveled from guru to student like a game of sacred telephone, except the stakes were cosmic harmony. Miss a syllable, and maybe the crops wouldn't grow. Or worse, the gods might ghost you. The rituals were grand and strange. Picture priests wearing elaborate garments, chanting in rhythmic cadences while marking time with hand gestures and bell chimes. Horses were sacrificed, not casually, mind you, but in months-long ceremonies involving entire kingdoms. It wasn't cruelty, it was considered divine theater, a reenactment of cosmic cycles. Historians still argue whether the famed Ashvamedha, or horse sacrifice, was literal or largely symbolic. Either way, it sure wasn't casual barn work. But amidst this ceremonial extravagance, there were quiet teachings too. Hidden among the hymns was an idea far ahead of its time. Irata, pronounced Rita. It meant the cosmic order, the reason the sun rises, the rivers flow, and humans love or suffer. It was a soft whisper that everything is connected, bound by a rhythm we can sense but not always name. Fringe detail, some Vedic seers claim to hear the hymns not with their ears, but from within their dreams, as if the universe were singing itself into them. Now imagine you're one of those rishis, seers, wrapped in a deerskin cloak, sitting beneath a neem tree, gazing into the fire. Your student sits nearby, waiting, silent. You begin to chant, and the forest leans in to listen. Your words aren't just sounds, they're frequencies shaping reality. They believe the soul, or Atman, wasn't separate from the universe, it was the universe. But that's a later layer of the story. For now, in these early days, it was enough to keep the fires lit, the chants pure, and the sky gods pleased. And there were many gods, so many. Indra of thunder, Varuna of cosmic law, Usha the dawn goddess who rides pink horses. No, really, pink horses. Each deity had their moods, loves, grudges. They weren't moral paragons. They were more like superpowered relatives, flawed, emotional, dangerous if ignored. Imagine trying to please a pantheon like that without modern anxiety meds. Still, the Vedic world wasn't about fear, it was about reciprocity. You gave to the fire gave to the gods, and the gods sent rain. Simple, until it wasn't. Because as time passed, people began to ask quieter, deeper questions. What if the fire wasn't out there, but in here? What if chanting could wake up not the gods, but your soul? A shift was beginning, small, smoky, unnoticed by the busy kings and their priests. It would grow into something vast, but for now, let the fire crackle, let the stars wheel overhead, and let the ancient songs lull you into the rhythm of a world where even silence was sacred. If you sat beside an elder under a banyan tree a few hundred years after those Vedic chants were first sung, you might hear something startling. You are not your body. You are not your name. You are the watcher behind it all. Just like that, the tone had shifted. from fiery gods to inner mysteries. Welcome to the age of Upanishads, the whispering texts of ancient India that traded rituals for riddles and sacrifice for stillness. This was spiritual revolution, whispered, not shouted. The fires weren't gone, but they had moved inward. The Upanishads, composed roughly between 800 and 500 BCE, were like philosophical jazz, layered, poetic, and sometimes so cryptic they make quantum physics look like bedtime stories. One famous line goes, Tat Tvam Asi, thou art that. What that means? Everything. You are everything. The bird, the river, the sun, you. And if that fries your brain a bit, welcome to the club. The sages of the Upanishads believe the Atman, your soul, is not only divine, but identical to Brahman, the ultimate, unchanging reality. So that persistent voice in your head, just a cloud passing over the eternal sky of your true self. And then came two new stars in the spiritual sky, karma and dharma. You've heard of karma, probably in the context of someone getting rear-ended after stealing your parking spot. But the original idea was more profound. Karma isn't about cosmic revenge. It's about cause and effect woven into the fabric of reality. Every action plants a seed. Every seed grows. Maybe not now, maybe not even in this life, but growth is inevitable. Dharma, meanwhile, isn't just duty. It's the deeper purpose that whispers in your bones. It's living in tune with your nature, like rivers flowing to the sea or birds migrating without GPS. You don't chase dharma, you align with it. Historians still debate whether karma was a comforting idea, cosmic justice in a chaotic world, or a tool to justify social hierarchy. After all, if your suffering is due to past actions, who's to blame? And yet something about karma resonates. Even today, thousands of years later, people instinctively feel the weight of their actions. There's something oddly reassuring about a universe that remembers. Quirky tidbit: one ancient text describes the afterlife journey of a soul as climbing a symbolic staircase of smoke, flame, and lightning. Kind of like a spiritual game of chutes and ladders, with more chanting and less dice. The great Indian epics, the Mahabharata and Ramayana, added flesh to these bones. Their gods were heartbreakingly human, and their humans staggeringly divine. The Mahabharata alone is over 10 times longer than the Bible. At its core, a single battlefield moment in the Bhagavad Gita, where a warrior named Arjuna collapses, overwhelmed by the horror of fighting his own kin. He's frozen, panicking. And who shows up as his charioteer? None other than Krishna, a god in disguise who calmly delivers one of the most profound philosophical discourses in history in the middle of a war zone. Talk about inconvenient timing. Krishna tells Arjuna, "You are not the slayer, nor are you slain. You are eternal." In other words, do your dharma, but detach from outcome. Act, but don't cling. That's the essence of karma yoga, selfless action. You do your duty not for reward, but because it's right. It's like doing dishes not because you love soap suds, but because the kitchen is your temple. By this point, Indian spirituality was getting wildly layered. Multiple yogas, paths emerged. Not just twisting your body into a pretzel kind of yoga, but bhakti, devotion, jnana, wisdom, karma, action, and raja, meditation. Each a different road up the same mountain. And then there's reincarnation. The soul, like a very confused tourist, keeps checking into new hotels, body after body, until it figures out where home is. Enlightenment, or moksha, was the final checkout. No more room keys, no more baggage. Some people find this whole idea beautiful. Others find it exhausting. But either way, the cycle, samsara, kept turning. Birth, death, rebirth, like a cosmic Ferris wheel. Imagine being told that your current life isn't your first rodeo, that the people you love might have been your parents, rivals, or even your pet goat in a past life. It's weird and wonderful. A fringe story goes that some children in India remember their past lives with eerie accuracy. Names, towns, mannerisms, enough to spook even the most skeptical uncle. Are these just coincidences? Repressed dreams? or something stranger. The Upanishads would just smile mysteriously and sip their mango lassi. By now, fire rituals had given way to inner fire, tapas, the heat generated by discipline and meditation. Some sages claimed to live off air alone. Others meditated under icy waterfalls. One reportedly sat on a bed of nails for 30 years. Whether that's spiritual dedication or just spinal masochism, we may never know. But the teachings stuck, carved into temples, sung in lullabies, tattooed into the collective soul of a culture. And somewhere deep in a jungle or beside a river, a child still hears the echo of that old teaching. You are the universe pretending to be you. Have you ever tried to sit perfectly still for 10 minutes and listen to your own breath, only to remember halfway through that you left laundry in the machine and also maybe forgot how to breathe? Welcome to the world of yogic India, where the goal isn't to master poses for Instagram, but to quiet the chaos of the mind. By around 500 BCE, while philosophers in Athens were debating ethics in togas, Indian mystics were turning inward, way inward. Enter the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, a slender collection of verses that still whispers across yoga studios today, even if most people are more focused on hamstring stretches than metaphysics. Patanjali didn't invent yoga, but he did organize it like a master librarian of the soul. His path was called Ashtanga, the 8 limbs of yoga. No, not tentacles. Steps. From moral discipline to breath control to deep meditation, it was essentially a spiritual to-do list. And the final goal? Samadhi, the total stillness where the self dissolves into the infinite, like sugar disappearing in warm tea. Now, to reach that state, you'd need serious dedication. We're talking renouncing the world, sleeping on the ground, and eating rice out of a leaf kind of dedication. The yogis weren't just flexible, they were ferocious in their inward search. But not all of India's spiritual seekers wanted to disappear. Some wanted union through song, through tears, through love. Cue the rise of Bhakti, a movement of devotional mysticism that swept through India like a monsoon of emotion. Imagine farmers and saints, queens and outcasts, all singing love songs, not to their crush, but to God. Not the judgmental, thunderbolt-hurling kind, but a personal, intimate divine. Someone who laughed, danced, and occasionally stole butter. One of the most famous Bhakti poets, Mirabai, was a 16th century princess who left everything to follow her love for Krishna. She wrote verses like, "I have found the dark one, my heart's desire, and I'll not let him go." Historians still argue whether her tales were romanticized or real, but her words still echo in temples and classrooms. Bhakti wasn't about doctrine, it was about yearning. Devotion so raw, it bypassed the mind and went straight to the soul. And unlike the rigid caste-bound priesthood, Bhakti was often open to everyone. Women, the poor, even those considered untouchable, found their voices in its songs. Quirky detour, some Bhakti saints were, well, wild. Take Basava, who rejected ritual and encouraged spiritual rebellion, while writing poems to his favorite deity Shiva, often in the form of metaphysical riddles. Or Kabir, a weaver who mocked both Hindus and Muslims equally and preferred mystical unity to dogma. One of his lines, "I went searching for the wicked, but I found no one as wicked as me." Oof. That hits harder than any yoga pose. Parallel to Bhakti's rise, a different fire was spreading, this time in the form of Tantra. Now hold on, before your mind jumps to the risque headlines and Western yoga retreats with too much incense. Ancient Tantra was something else entirely. It was dangerous, esoteric, and deeply misunderstood. Tantra taught that everything is sacred, even the things society tries to avoid. Desire, death, darkness. It didn't reject the world, it embraced it. Whereas the Upanishads whispered detach, Tantra roared transform. Its practitioners used secret mantras, strange rituals, and wild symbols, like skulls, ashes, and divine feminine energy known as Shakti. Historians still argue whether Tantra was mainstream spirituality's weird cousin or its hidden heart. Either way, it pushed boundaries, and it terrified Orthodox priests. There's a fringe tale of Agoris, a sect of Tantric ascetics who meditate in cremation grounds, smear ash on their bodies, and eat from skulls. Sounds like a horror movie, right? But to them, it's a lesson in non-duality. If everything is divine, then nothing is profane. It's not for the faint-hearted or the light sleeper. Meanwhile, in quieter corners of the subcontinent, Jainism was blossoming, a religion of radical nonviolence so intense that some monks still wear face masks to avoid inhaling bugs by accident. Their key principle? Ahimsa, not harming any living being, not even in thought. One Jain monk reportedly stood for over 12 hours a day to avoid crushing insects underfoot. Whether that's devotion or very intense cardio is open for debate. Then came Buddhism, born under a Bodhi tree, with a prince-turned-seeker named Siddhartha Gautama, who looked at the world's suffering and said, "No thanks." He meditated until he saw through illusion itself and became the Buddha, the awakened one. His message was radical in its simplicity. Life is suffering, but there's a way out. Not through gods or sacrifices, but through mindfulness, compassion, and walking the middle path. Buddha rejected the caste system, accepted women as nuns, and said things like, "Do not believe in anything merely because it is said," a bold move in a world of dogma. Even today, Buddhist monks chant in caves and temples, and yes, on YouTube. One verse, the Metta Sutta, goes, "May all beings be happy, may all beings be safe." Simple, profound, and exactly what you'd want whispered as you drift to sleep. But let's not romanticize. Even these peaceful paths were shaped by politics, by power struggles, by centuries of interpretation. What remains true is this: ancient India didn't offer one way, it offered many. Some fierce, some tender, some filled with fire, some with silence. And if you sit still enough, breathe deep enough, you might hear their echoes, soft, sacred, and unafraid to contradict each other. So let's step away from the sages in caves and the kings who renounced everything and wander into the part of India's spiritual legacy that's perhaps most misunderstood and yet wildly alive. Rituals, temples, and the gods who dance through them like thunder and silk. Picture this. It's dawn. The sky is still violet, birds half asleep. But in the temple, lamps are being lit. Bells ring out, sharp and golden. A priest offers incense and fruit to a statue clothed in fresh marigolds and shimmering silk. But to the worshippers, that statue isn't just a symbol. It's alive. It's God, fully present. Welcome to puja, the ritual of presence. Unlike the meditative inward focus of yoga or the emotional outpouring of bhakti, puja is intimate choreography, a dialogue between human and divine. You bathe the deity, dress them, offer sweets. You care for God like family, because in many households, that's exactly what they are. A mischievous child, a stern father, a radiant mother. And the temples themselves? Architectural symphonies. Each curve, spire, and carving tells a story. Some temples are so massive they could swallow football stadiums. Others are carved straight into mountains, like Ellora and Ajanta, where ancient monks once painted the walls with tales of compassion and karma. Historians still puzzle over how some of these structures were built without modern tools. There's a tale of a temple with a massive stone chariot wheel that casts no shadow at noon, a mystery that makes even physicists squint. And the gods? There are millions, but don't worry, they're all versions of one divine energy, or so says one school of thought. Another school politely disagrees and says, nope, they're very real individuals. Thank you very much. Let's meet a few. There's Shiva, the ascetic god who dances destruction into rebirth. He's covered in ash, crowned in a crescent moon, and carries a drum that pulses the rhythm of the cosmos. Yet he's also known to weep quietly in mountain caves, mourning the pain of the world. Then Vishnu, the cosmic preserver, who descends to earth in many avatars, from the fierce lion man Narasimha to the charming flute-playing Krishna, who flirts, tricks, and eventually delivers a divine TED Talk in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. In that battlefield dialogue, Krishna tells the warrior Arjuna something like, "Dude, do your duty, but don't get attached to results." I'm paraphrasing, but but it's basically the ultimate productivity mantra. Focus, detach, breathe. And we can't forget Devi, the great goddess in all her forms. She's gentle Parvati, fierce Durga, who slays demons while riding a lion, and wild Kali, who dances with skulls and sticks out her tongue at ego and illusion. She terrifies and protects, a paradox with bangles. Quirky tidbit: in one temple, rats are considered sacred, thousands of them. Devotees offer sweets, hoping a rat will scamper across their feet. Why? Because in that place, rats are believed to house saints reincarnated. Even the squeaky gets second chances. And that's the thing, rebirth is everywhere in Indian spirituality. The soul, or Atman, isn't a one-time traveler. It hops from body to body, species to species, like a cosmic backpacker. You might be a queen in one life, a slug in the next, and a poet in the third. Karma is the currency. Good deeds, spiritual frequent flyer miles. Bad deeds, well, enjoy your next life as a dung beetle. But not everyone wants to keep spinning on the samsara wheel forever. Some want moksha, liberation, freedom from the birth-death loop, the big spiritual off-ramp, and the paths to get there. Many. You can meditate until your ego dissolves. You can love the divine so deeply that your sense of me fades. You can study sacred texts until your brain is one with the Vedas. Or you can just live your life with integrity and kindness and let the gods sort it out. There's a lovely phrase in Sanskrit, Tat Tvam Asi, you are that, meaning the divine isn't some far-off figure in the clouds. It's you. It's the cow chewing calmly in the field, the storm rolling in, the breeze brushing your arm at night. This kind of thinking birthed not only philosophies, but entire festivals of transcendence. Take the Kumbh Mela, held every 12 years, when millions gather to bathe in sacred rivers. The idea? Washing off karmic residue like last year's bad decisions. There are sadhus who haven't worn clothes in decades, children dressed as deities, and rivers that are more than water. They're goddesses in liquid form. Historians still marvel at the organization of these mega events, often more efficient than some national governments. But to those who attend, it's not about logistics, it's about longing, to touch something timeless, to be, even briefly, pure again. And that's the golden thread. Purity, not in the moral sense, but in returning to essence. Ancient Indian spirituality isn't trying to make you someone else. It's trying to help you remember who you already are. So next time you hear temple bells or smell incense or see a child pretending to be a monkey god, remember behind the colors, the chaos, the chants, there's an ancient whisper. It says, you are more than breath and bone. You are part of this dance. Don't forget the steps. All right, traveler, let's float now. Beyond the temples, beyond the chants, to the quiet corners of ancient India's spirituality that don't always make the headlines but still glow like embers in the dark. I'm talking about everyday magic, the rituals tucked into dawn routines, the symbols carved on thresholds, the lullabies sung by grandmothers who never opened a scripture, but somehow know all the truths. You see, in ancient India, the sacred wasn't confined to monasteries or caves. It pulsed through rice fields, echoed in kitchen prayers, danced in wedding fires, and whispered from banyan trees. Spirituality wasn't a weekend retreat. It was Tuesday morning, elbow deep in turmeric, muttering mantras under your breath while boiling lentils. Let's start with something soft. Symbols. You probably know the Om sign, looping curves with a little tail. To some, it's a branding cliche. To others, it's the sound of creation itself, not metaphorically, literally. Ancient texts say Om vibrated before anything existed. It wasn't just the first word, it was the first reality. Speak it aloud and it hums in your chest like a low thunder made of honey. Then there's the lotus, not just a pretty flower, but a survival icon. It blooms from mud, untouched by filth. That's the whole spiritual journey in one botanical metaphor. Rise above the muck, but stay rooted. Fringe gem. There's an ancient belief that if you whisper your dreams to a blooming lotus, it'll remember them for your next life. Now, daily rituals. A typical morning in ancient times might begin with a bath before sunrise. Not just hygiene, but a reset. Then a few spoonfuls of water offered to the sun, hands folded in silence. That's called Sandhya Vandanam, greeting the day like it's royalty. Even brushing your teeth had chants. No kidding. There's a verse thanking the neem twig for its service. Imagine doing that while rushing to a 9 a.m. Zoom call. And don't get me started on food. Cooking wasn't just feeding bodies, it was feeding the divine. You'd offer a small bite of every meal to the gods first, because sharing wasn't courtesy, it was cosmic etiquette. In weddings, rice isn't just thrown, it's a blessing delivery system. Circling a fire 7 times isn't just tradition, it's a vow to walk through 7 lifetimes together. And when a baby's born, the first thing whispered in their ear isn't, "It's a boy." It's a sacred name, usually a god's. No pressure, kid. And yes, even death had beauty, a body placed on sandalwood. The Ganges called to carry the soul home. Ashes floated like prayers written in water. Mourning wasn't silence, it was song, memory. Lamps lit each night to help the spirit find its way. Because in ancient India, no one died alone. Even the wind came to say goodbye. Historians still debate whether these folk practices evolved before or alongside the grand philosophies. But most agree, this was spirituality with dirt under its nails. It was humble, handmade, often unwritten, but no less profound. Now let's talk about animals. In Western stories, snakes tend to be the villains. In ancient India, the cobra is sacred. It coils around Shiva's neck like a necklace. Cows aren't burgers in waiting, they're mothers. Elephants, royal wisdom incarnate. Monkeys, loyal warriors. Peacocks, pride without arrogance. And dogs? Yes, even dogs have their own deity. His name is Pyrava, and he's terrifying. But his pup, adorable and divine. There's a reason Indian roads often pause for crossing cows or monkey mobs. It's not just traffic chaos, it's reverence in motion. Chaos, but sacred chaos. And in art? Oh, friend, ancient Indian sculpture is theology in 3D. Every mudra, the hand gestures on statues, has meaning. A raised palm says, "Don't fear." A downward palm says, "I give." A twisted dance pose might mean, "I see you," and also, "I'm the universe." There's literally a hand sign for cosmic awe. Fringe tidbit: one ancient temple has a statue so precise, if you whisper into one corner of the wall, someone on the other side of the room can hear you. They didn't just carve gods, they carved acoustics. And let's pause at perhaps the most subtle spiritual gesture: touching feet. Sounds odd, I know, but in India, bowing to someone's feet isn't servitude. It's saying, "Your journey came before mine. Let me draw strength from it." Some believe energy flows downward. So when you touch someone's feet, you're tapping into their spiritual Wi-Fi. Even clothing held meaning. A saffron robe wasn't fashion. It meant renunciation. A tilak, those forehead marks, weren't cosmetic. They were GPS markers for devotion. Red for Shakti, white for Shiva, sandalwood for Vishnu. One look and you knew someone's inner playlist. Modern India still carries echoes of this. Yes, the skyscrapers hum and the bullet trains zoom, but in alleyways and village squares, you'll find grandmothers still tying thread around banyan trees, children drawing rangoli patterns on doorsteps, and shopkeepers lighting tiny lamps before opening shutters. They don't call it mindfulness, they call it Tuesday. And maybe that's the secret. Ancient Indian spirituality didn't demand isolation, it invited presence. You didn't have to escape life to find the divine, you just had to notice it. In mango pulp, in thunder, in a lullaby, in the silence between thoughts. So if you're ever overwhelmed, too much noise, too many tabs open in your brain, try this. Sit, breathe, light a candle, whisper Om like it's the first sound ever made, and let the ancient rhythm fold you in. Let's let go now. The stories have been told. The sacred syllables have echoed softly in the corners of your mind. That flicker of ancient flame, the one carried across lifetimes and whispered through lotus petals. temple walls, and old songs, it's still glowing, just quieter now. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Let the edges of the room soften. Imagine the air around you warm and still, scented faintly with sandalwood and night-blooming jasmine. Somewhere far away, a drum beats slow and deep, like a heartbeat half-remembered. The world you just wandered through, it's folding gently back into the night. Temples dim, cows curl beside their calves. The river carries your breath, slow and steady. The sages nod once more before vanishing into the folds of dream. Let your body sink like a stone into holy water. Let your thoughts drift like marigold petals on the surface, colorful, light, and unburdened. You've walked through ash and incense, through mantras and mango trees, through death and rebirth and laughter carved in stone. It's okay now to rest. You are not lost. You are not late. You are exactly where you were meant to be. Let every muscle untangle. Let every question hush. Let the sacred slip behind your eyes, curling into sleep like a cat beside fire. And if you hear something, a whisper, a song, a memory you never lived, don't worry. That's just the old wisdom saying goodnight. Let it go. You are cradled now in a rhythm older than time, deeper than scripture. Sleep, traveler. Sleep.